Hi everyone, thanks for joining me again tonight. I'll give a couple of seconds for some people to jump on. I think last week I jumped right into it and everybody was coming on kind of late, and which, you know, I had been off for the holidays and they probably just had forgotten the schedule. But anyway, I wanted to kind of give a second for people to catch up. So anyway, tonight I want to talk about our purpose. Have you ever wondered what your purpose was? What exactly did God create you to do? And understand that everybody does have a job, and it's a matter of whether you choose to do that job or not. And a lot of times we know what we can do, what we're capable of doing, and we refuse to do it. And, God, He may have created you for that and you refuse to do it. He'll find someone that will do it. But do you really want to be the one to stand in front of the Lord, on Judgment Day and say, yeah, God, I could have, but I didn't feel like it. Or, yeah, God, I should have, but I was scared. I didn't want to go and talk in front of people, or I was afraid of what they would think of me. Well, I really care a whole lot more about what God thinks of me than what anybody else thinks. So I just want to talk about, that He does prepare people for a specific assignment. And, Moses prepared to lead the people through the wilderness to get them to the promised land. It took him 80 years. And then, he only got to see them just walk, or, that got him to the edge. He didn't get to go in. Noah, 120 years building an ark that he didn't even know what for. He couldn't even fathom the reason of building the ark because it had never rained there yet. But he was just obeying, and he was doing what God told him to do, so he built an ark. Little did he know that only him and his family was going to be the only ones to survive, the entire world. But the point is that he did his job and he obeyed. So then come into the New Testament, and Paul, I think is one of the greatest, apostles. And, he did a lot of great missionary trips. But, before he did that, he spent years learning. And in Galatians, I wanted to point out, it's Galatians 2. Galatians 1 first. He goes back and he says, where he had basically he had become a Christian, and then he said, then after 3 years, he went to Jerusalem to see Peter, and he remained with him for 15 days. And then, skip down a little bit, he says, chapter 2, he says, then 14 years later, he went again to Jerusalem, and he took some people with him, and there he began to communicate the gospel, which he preached among to the Gentiles. So, he spent years learning, and I know we all do. We go to church every week, and we sit in a pew and we learn, but there's a point that you have to do something with what you've learned. You cannot just sit there for your entire life, 90 years, just sitting in a pew and doing nothing. That is not what we were created to do. So even Jesus Christ himself had a period of learning. He was born, a baby, and he didn't come knowing how to walk or to talk or all of the things that he did, and he grew into his ministry as well. In Luke, I have that marked here. In Luke 2:52, it says, let's make sure I'm into, hold on just a second. 2:52, it says, and Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and men. So he had to increase his wisdom. So now that we know that we're being prepared, or we have been prepared, or we're still in that season of being prepared, there's always a season. What then? So I know that God does not just prepare us to sit around. We are to work. And I've got a scripture in Romans 8:28. Says, and we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God, and those who are called according to his purpose. So he has a purpose, and we have to fulfill that. And like I said, if we don't, he will find someone else that will, but we'll have to answer for the why we don't. And I sure don't want to be in those shoes. So also, think about it like a mission. We have, missionaries, of course, they go and travel, but we're on the same mission. We all have the duty to spread the gospel, to the world, right? So is there ever a retirement for that mission? No. It's forever. We have to, as long as we have breath, we're supposed to be teaching people about Jesus. And let me get to one scripture real quick, is Joshua. And this just, to me, proves that our job is never done. Let me find, I thought I had that marked. Hold on just a second. I do. All right, so it says, now Joshua was old and advanced in years. And the Lord said to him, you are old and advanced in years, and there remains very much land yet to be possessed. So he's telling him, you still got to get to work. So don't be slowing down just because you're old. There is still my job to get done. All right, so what is our job? Let's think about it. Here's where I think people kind of run up against a wall, is what is your talent? We know that God has given talents to everyone, and everyone is not going to be a public speaker. Everyone is not going to be able to, I can't, there's a lot of things I can't do. Public speaking is not my, first pick, but I prayed for a while. I wanted, when I started out, I wanted to teach the women's at the women's group at church, which was, maybe 12 women, something like that. And then I thought, well, I'd like to have a Bible study maybe at like Tim Hortons and open it up to, whoever. And so I prayed about these things. And anyway, I was a youth group leader over girls for a while, and that was great. We had about 14 girls there, but, that season passed. And so, again, I was stuck with, what am I going to do? What's my purpose? What's my job? And so I thought I would give this a shot. And, instead of reaching 12 or 14 women, now I reach up to maybe 1,000 people a week. So I think God had bigger plans than what my mind was set to. So I'm going to use it. And, for as long as he lets me anyway. So I want to pick up another scripture. So we are his workmanship, created for good works, which is prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So beforehand means he had a plan for you, and you're expected to find out what that is. And everyone has, like I said, they have a talent, something. Think of anything you're passionate about. It could be sports. Brian's passionate about hunting. You could have a love for animals, and maybe volunteer at an animal shelter. Music could be your thing. You could have a heart for homeless people, or anything. Anything can be used in a way that will glorify God. It's just your mindset. You have to put your mind to putting him first. And if he's first, he is going to show up in everywhere you go, in everything you do. And so the point is to not hide him. Let him shine through you, because we are to be the light in the world. So what skills do you have? Like talking, like, me, I like to talk. Is it, being on a phone? Is it crafting? There's so many things with crafting that you can do, and that would still lead people or point people to God. When I started a couple years ago at this church, I started sending out just little, I got on Pinterest and I found cute little biblical scriptures and pictures, and I would send that every morning out to a group of women, probably, 30 some in a group. But anything like that you can do, and start sending that to your friends. But the point is to do something. Again, I just don't think, I know that we're not meant to just sit in a pew and take in sermons every week and go and leave and do nothing with it. We are to do something. So, let me look at my note for a second. So, and everyone does have a skill, so don't act like you don't. Everybody has a skill. People think they can't go to a ball field and talk about God to someone. Well, why not? Brian easily could take out his camera and videotape himself while hunting, because he sits in his tree stand and he reads his Bible. And he could, at the end of his hunt, give God the glory and still witness and worship that way. And so you can do that with sports. And I see a lot of people, on court, that when they're done and they score, they're looking up and pointing, but you can do so much more than that. I'm glad that people are giving him glory, but there's still more. There's more that you can do. If you don't have time to help with, maybe you could make a bulletin or a flyer for a kid's lock-in I know our church is getting ready to have a lock-in. Make a flyer for it. Just some sort of community outreach. There's always someone in the community is always, raising money for something. And so I would get involved in community organizations. And that way, when I am doing those events, and I'm promoting whatever event that is, but I'm also talking to people about God while I'm there. And so, you think you run the same group of people and you don't meet new people and you don't have new friends, but if you put yourself out in a situation to where you do meet new people and you do make new friends, then you're doing what God intended you to do. So truthfully, you can make anything and everything about God. You just have to remember to keep putting him first in everything you do, and it will flow out of you naturally. I want to go to 1 Peter. Let me see here. I think I have it marked. 1 Peter 4:10 says, "As each one has received a gift, minister it to one another, as good stewards of manifold grace of God. If anyone speaks, let him speak as the oracles of God." And I know we all can speak. Everyone on here that's watching or will watch, we all have the gift to be able to talk. And it isn't that hard that when you're in a conversation with someone, say, "Hey, you go to church anywhere?" Or, "Do you believe in God?" It comes out pretty easily. It's not anything that hard. So it's time to start seeing yourself as God sees you. You was created by him, for his pleasure. And I think that one last scripture, and then I'm going to, let me go back. Colossians. Well, I had it marked. Hold on just a second. Or I thought I did. I think Colossians is what I'm wanting. Yeah, I did. It's the little ribbon. Sorry, guys. Took me a second. Colossians 1:16. Wait, I'm still not in the right book. Good grief. There we go. Another ribbon. So Colossians 1:16 says, all things were created, through him and for him. I'm sorry, I should have read that a second ago. So choose to put the work in. Preparation means you are preparing to do something. And something is not sitting in a pew. It is action. And success is a choice. And, it's what you make of it. And you're doing it for him, not for you. And I'm just telling you, he gave you a job and he expects you to do it. So that's all. I just want to tell you, you were created for a purpose, for his purpose. And that it's up to you to find out what that is and then to go and share it and do your job, put in the work. You know, sometimes it's hard work, but it's worth doing. And like I said, you don't want to be standing at Judgment Day explaining why you didn't do what he has expected you to do. So that's it. Till next week, guys. I will see you then. Thanks. Bye.